Hi, how are you doing? I would love to talk to you about something just for a few minutes. It's been something I think about all the time as an adult, and it's something that I've written extensively about. In fact, here I am making a commercial again. This is one of the themes in my booksellers series, which, by the way, even tonight, I'm going to be working on the edits for book number 2, which should be out very, very soon, within a matter of weeks. But one of the major themes that is woven into this story, which is for young adults, is that we are way better together than we are apart. Haven't you noticed that there is a real spirit of division everywhere you go? Certainly, when you look for 1 minute on social media, somebody's going to try to encourage you to be against somebody else, that somebody is not thinking properly, you should be against them. Somebody else is going to convince you that you need to cut off friendships or cut off relationships, cut off family relationships. I think it's such a wild thing. The Bible instructs us in 2 Corinthians 2, isn't it? To not be unaware of the enemy's schemes. And this is certainly one of them, division. I am. One more commercial. I have a chapter about this in this book, Living Stones, if you would like to read more about this. But let me just illustrate what I'm saying. We're better together with this story from years ago. My husband and I and our younger daughter, this is probably 10 years ago at this point, I think. We're very blessed to be able to go on this trip of a lifetime to Kenya. And the people that we were there with surprised us and took us on a safari. So have you ever seen The Lion King? Because you have seen in animated form what we got to see in real life. It was gorgeous. Just the most beautiful, beautiful countryside that you can even imagine. Animals everywhere. Zebras everywhere. Just huge herds of them just wandering free. Giraffes, they were so beautiful and they moved so gracefully. I just could have watched them all day. We saw lions, we saw elephants, we saw hippos. There were so many of them in the river, it was wild. It was wild. We saw a gigantic old crocodile, thankfully from very far away, near the hippos, and I wondered how that was going to go. But the story that I would love to tell you about is the fact that, we were in like a Land Rovery kind of vehicle, a whole bunch of us, and the drivers were local people who had this system of communicating with each other, though it was like vast swaths of country, and the tour groups were everywhere, miles and miles apart, but they would radio one another if they saw something cool, and everybody else would come zooming over. And so our driver found out that somebody had seen a cheetah and she was hunting. And so we all zoom over and stop within like so close, like within 50 yards, I would say, of this cheetah. And she's beautiful. She's a huge, gorgeous cat. And she is fixed, like her attention is fixed upon something. And all through the countryside are these little herds, or big herds, of antelope. Little, graceful, they look a lot like deer, Beautiful little animal. And they sort of stay in little clumps. They just eat the grass. Very peaceful, lovely animal. And they're together because everything else in the whole place is trying to eat them. And they instinctively know this, and so they stay together. Well, the cheetah is hunting for some antelope today, on this day. And we are sitting there watching, and I'm thinking, oh no, I do not want to see this happen. I didn't think. But then I noticed something move right at the base of the cheetah's back leg. She was sitting just kind of really lurching forward in hunting position, and something moved right beside her. And of course, guess what it was? A tiny, adorable baby cheetah. And so then suddenly I was rooting for the baby to get fed. And it didn't take long because the mother cheetah had noticed one very foolish antelope that was way far away from the rest of the herd. He had wandered off all by himself and was just munching grass, oblivious to the danger that he was in. And she is locked in. She sees him. And I'm not very good at distances, but I'll say she's maybe 30, 40 yards from him, something like that. And he's fast too. Those antelopes can really run. They kind of hop and run at the same time. But she's locked in on him, the one that wandered away all by himself. And all of a sudden, something catches that antelope's attention, and he looks away, and that cheetah was upon him before he even knew what was happening. She had a very nice meal, and so did her cub that night. My point of all of that story is to tell you who gets eaten in the wild. It's the one who wanders away all by himself. And the same is true among human beings. We need each other. In my story, I don't know if you've read it yet. If you haven't, I'd encourage you to do so, especially before the second one comes out. Caroline Mason is the main character. She's a teenage girl. She is 17 years old, and it's the summer between her junior and senior year in high school. She's homeschooled, by the way. So if you're a fan of homeschooling, tell your friends that this is a book about homeschooled sisters. But she is involved in her first mystery, and she is very tempted at one point, because her father is worried about her, to kind of keep it on the down low from him, what she's doing. She doesn't want him to tell her to stop. But things get a little bit dicey at one point, and she realizes how foolish that is to try to do something on your own when there's plenty of help all around you. So all of this to say, this theme of we're better together is such an important one to me. And so I'll leave you with this thought. Are you falling for the enemy's schemes of being divided from everyone in your life? It's such a thing right now. People are not speaking to their families because of politics. How can politics be important enough to warrant such a thing as that? Most of the world is involved in some sort of conflict, and when you boil it right down, world conflicts start with conflicts between just a person and another person. It's really that simple. We're better together. The Lord himself created us to be with him and with one another forever in the garden. Think about that. There was not ever supposed to be any death, meaning everyone who's ever lived would still be alive, and we would be okay on this earth. That's amazing, isn't it? We were created to be together with God and each other forever. And I think this is an important thing to God. And one of the most beautiful things you can realize is that Jesus came to save us, yes, from our sin, but he came really to reconcile us to God. Jesus defeated death, so death no longer separates us from God. Sin no longer separates us from God when we believe Jesus. He came to reconcile us to God, and he came to make it possible for us to be reconciled to one another. So let's take Jesus at his word. He's given us his Holy Spirit and the grace that we need to forgive each other and to love each other and to choose to believe the best about each other. And even when something awful happens, to work past it with grace and forgiveness. So I just encourage you today, take stock of your life and your relationships. Is the enemy trying to bring division somewhere? Well, let God smooth it over, because we are so much better together. And just a reminder, Think about the poor antelope. We're better together. Let's not be the one that wanders off and gets eaten. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this encourages you. You know, God is pretty wild about you. He loves you and thinks about you and cares for you all day, every day. Think about that. I hope you have a great one, and I'll see you next time.